I'm Clarissa Medina from dreambookproject.com. I'm the official interviewer for Freedom Summit Global. We are getting to know the wonderful international and local speakers for Freedom Summit Global. These speakers are gathering to show us how to live a life of total freedom, where we are not shackled by time, money, or location. Right now, we are joined by a very special guest. He is an international #1 Amazon best-selling author. He also interviews top entrepreneurs as an award-winning podcast host. Known as the lead generation coach, he founded Business Owner Elevation, a company that helps consultants and coaches create 6 to 7 figure income. I introduce to you Leon Street.
Thank you very much, Clarissa. Thank you for the intro. I appreciate it.
So say hello to everyone. Say hi.
Hi, everybody. Pleased to meet you.
Yes. So to start with, Freedom Summit Global, as the name implies, is all about freedom. What does freedom mean to you personally?
It's a great question. To me personally, I think you touched on it in the intro, which is about time, money, and location. Now, if you want to go a step above that, freedom starts here. It starts in the mind. And unfortunately, when you set out on the path of running a business, if you're not clear in your mind and you're not constantly looking at personal development and how you can open up the focus and clarity that you need to live a life, never mind a business, you can be forever trapped. And it could appear on the outside that you're living free in terms of time, money, location. But there's a lot of people who have reached, in many people's eyes, a place of success, but they're trapped within the confines and the limitations of their mind. And I'll give you an example. There was a point in my life where I'd set up a digital marketing agency and I was running it for some years. And then I had a failure. I had to close the company. I had to make 3 of my team members redundant. And it had an effect on me for 4 years after. So I'd set up another business during that time, but I never pushed beyond the limits of what I'd now created in my mind because I didn't want to experience failure again. Although failure and the challenges of that time were actually part of the journey and what I needed to learn. So when I come back to freedom, freedom is the ability to be free here, to choose what you do with your money, to choose what you do with your time, and to be free with the choices you make in life.
I see. What my key takeaway from that is that it also includes mental freedom, not just time freedom, location freedom, or money freedom. A big part of it is mental or psychological.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I digress a bit?
Of course. I'm happy to go anywhere you want to go.
I'm curious what you learned from the failure that you mentioned.
So the biggest failure at the time was related to the business having a cash gap. So it was sales. It was generating enough sales at the time. There was also the challenge of collecting cash in. So when you have invoices out and you're chasing your clients to pay you. So those were the financial lessons. What I also realized at the time in terms of having 3 employees, and they were not freelancers or subcontractors, they were in my office. I paid their salaries, I paid their taxes. And the other thing that I realized is, do I have the right people on board? So there is a book called Good to Great, and it talks about the philosophy of having the right people on the bus in the right seats. And what I realized is that I was the main salesperson. I was the main driver of generating leads, and that was the problem. So what I needed to have is a system and a team who actually could at least contribute to the results of what we were doing. And then, you know, at that point, that was the biggest realization. And then there were other things, you know, when I had to make my team redundant, it was, how did I handle that emotionally? Because I felt responsible for them, for their
Yes.
families. And it was one of those things where I realized that actually, even though it may sound selfish, the biggest thing to do is to prepare yourself and your business first. Because if that is right, then you shouldn't have the responsibility of your team. What you should have is a system that provides for you and your team. Yeah. So that you don't feel that you have to emotionally take care of any other responsibility beyond your own family. But what the business should provide is a way for everybody to win together. So there were so many lessons as we digress, and I could probably talk about it all day.
All right. So you
Mhm.
mentioned the right team, the right system.
Mhm.
How did you break free from the like like go from get over the failure and
Mm.
break free mindset wise?
Yeah, I would love to say that it was just like an overnight epiphany, light bulb moment, aha moment that came to me, but it wasn't. It was a gradual, it
Ah.
was a gradual process. So what happened was, whilst I was running my new marketing agency after the other one failed and I had to close it, I
Mhm.
started testing different things. I was doing some affiliate marketing. I was consulting on some other projects, and so there was just different
Mhm.
things going on. And part of it, what I realized is I was moving away from what I was labeling as a failure and not working properly. But what happened was, is those kind of smaller projects brought me back to my core, which was marketing. And out of that, what I realized is the biggest thing for me was to really get to the understanding of what will create sales. So before sales comes the marketing, and the marketing is all about generating the right qualified leads. And and so for me, once I started to understand that, I started to look inwards, because that's where freedom starts. It starts internally. Yeah. And so what I did from that point was started to really look at personal development, because it was something I was doing, but I wasn't going deep enough. I was like surface layer. Like, I had the books on the shelf, like you can see here, but I didn't read all of them, and there was just different things. So I wasn't really accountable to the core actions that I was setting myself, and also the standards that I had in my life. And so gradually I started to get more focused. Gradually I became more committed, and eventually I realized that it was my duty, and that's how it happened.
I see. You seem to be living in this freedom now.
Hmm.
So what advice can you give to people who want to become as successful as you are?
Sure. I think, there is a million and one ways to be a success. There is
Yeah.
no just here is the only way. But
Yeah.
what you will find from experts like myself and many other people is that they have created a system. Yeah. And the biggest thing that has allowed me to live within the freedom that I have now, the choices that I have now, the time, the money, and the location. Like right now, I'm not even in my office. I'm in my home office. I'm not in the
Ah.
actual office. Yeah. And part of that is like you mentioned earlier, to be able to choose where I'm located. And for me, if people are looking to create their freedom, what you've got to start with is, what is the life that you want to create? Yeah. Because there's no point in having freedom without a goal or a plan that leads you towards something. So freedom shouldn't just be, I just want to earn $1 million or pounds. Or freedom to me is, I don't have to turn up to work or don't have to do any work. It should be, what is the life that you want to create? And then what you've got to look at as, a business owner, somebody who's embarking on this business journey, what must be in place in order for me to create the financial returns that I need, and the systems within the business to support that goal of the life that I want to have. And so that means, it means creating standards. Yeah, you must have standards. So for instance, one of the big things is, um, I read this book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by
I've read that.
Stephen Covey. Yeah. And one of the big things that I adopted from it was the weekly plan. And the weekly plan was, where you map out 168 hours every week. We all have 168 hours. And so what I got really focused in, and then also share with my team, is that we plan the week. So we plan in everything from what is done in work to what is done in your social life, everything. Because if you want to become more effective, it's not just effective at work, it's effective at life. And so as I got more focused on what needed to happen, then I started to focus on the two key areas that would then grow my business: marketing, having a clear way to generate consistent leads of qualified prospects, people who I wanted to serve, having the right offer for them, so that at the point where they wanted to buy from me, I was also prepared, where I understood how to sell effectively. So I came across as the supportive advisor that people trusted, rather than somebody who just wants to sell anything to anybody. And if you're listening to this right now, that's the key that has led to my freedom: getting the mind right, getting the marketing right. So those are the two things, and sales. Without those, operations doesn't exist, because without customers, there's no point in having operations. So when you have those, the fourth one is operations.
I see. Mindset, marketing, sales, and operations.
There you
And you
go.
mentioned earlier about defining the kind of lifestyle that you want, and not just
Yes.
like a financial figure target.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Um, these things that we're talking about, time freedom, money freedom, and location freedom,
Mm-hmm.
one of the lifestyles that embraces this is the digital nomad lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
What tips do you have for someone who wants to live the digital nomad lifestyle?
It's a really good question, actually. And you know what? I had to go onto Wikipedia to find out what the definition of a digital nomad was. I'm being very honest with you, because I don't label myself as a digital nomad,
Ah,
and I'll share why.
yeah.
Because when I looked at the definition of a digital nomad, it was somebody who could operate in almost like isolation, yeah, where they don't need to have a fixed office. They can work from a cafe, a bar,
Mm,
on the beach, whatever. And the biggest thing for me is, if you go back to what I said, understand what is the life that you want to create. Yeah. So you're planning what is the life that you want to create. And therefore, what are the activities or the daily things that you want to be doing? If you want to get up at 5 a.m., if you want to get up at 8 a.m., if you want to get out of bed at 11 a.m. in the morning, it really doesn't matter. Like, what life do you want to create? How many hours in a day do you wish to work? How many hours in a day will you be marketing? How many hours in the day will you be selling? And all of these things are that they're relative, because somebody within 1 hour's time may be highly successful compared to another person in terms of commitment and the amount of work they produce. So for me, that's why I said that there is no right way, or there is no specific way. But if you're looking to live that digital nomad lifestyle, the key thing is this: you must know how to generate leads first. Yeah, because if you can generate leads, you will never have a problem with selling, because you will always have people to sell to. If you have enough leads and you're selling enough, you will have cash in the bank. Now, cash in the bank is a big factor and a big sign of how well you are doing. So don't fool yourself with likes, with shares, with comments, with
yeah.
photos on the beach, pretending to have the lifestyle. Actually focus on what generates cash, because once you have the cash, you have leverage. And what cash will buy you is more time and more freedom. That's what cash is. Cash in the bank is freedom, because now you have the choice to hire people. You have the choice to leverage time, because those people can do the things that you don't want to do, i.e. the $10 an hour tasks, where you can focus more on the $1,000 or the $10,000 an hour tasks that help you to grow your business, create the right team, and to continue to live whatever life you choose. And it could also be that digital nomad lifestyle.
Yes. So it's one of the tools that they can use to actually enjoy that kind of lifestyle is lead generation.
Yeah, it's the lifeblood of any business.
Hmm. I would agree.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so many people get lost in, hey, look at my new logo. Hey, look at my website. Nobody wants to look at your logo or your website. Nobody cares. But
Yeah.
if you can offer some value to these people who you know that you can help, a
Mhm.
specific niche, the group of people that you know your product or service can help, you must put value in front of those so that they take up the opportunity to either opt in for your webinar, opt in for a PDF guide, a PDF checklist, something of value first,
Yeah.
generate leads. And when you generate leads, as I said, you will never have a problem. Yeah. The next step is just then knowing how to sell, which is, it's almost why I wrote the book here, which is more leads, more clients. You
I
know,
saw
like,
that. Yeah, I was looking at it as well.
yeah, and you know why I put it there? So I never forget to mention it. But that, you know, the reality is that's what it's about. It's generating more leads so that you can sell to have more clients. And everything that I do, you know, focuses around a person coming from a place of integrity, knowing that you can help, knowing that you can provide value. Because at that point, providing value and delivering great service and getting testimonials, you know, from people who loved what they have experienced with your product or service is what will then continue to fuel even more leads and more clients.
All right. Um, well, digital nomads travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, what's your favorite travel story?
This was a difficult one for me to even think of. Like, what was my favorite travel story?
You have a lot
Um,
of favorites?
I've got different experiences traveling to places like Egypt. I've traveled to places in Europe. I mean, I'm based in the UK, traveling to Poland, Ireland,
Ah,
Spain. But I'll tell you some of my favorite destinations.
okay.
Italy, in Rome. Absolutely love it just because of the history that is there. You'll
Mm,
walk on the street and you'll be walking past, you know, buildings that were there more than 2,000 years ago.
mm,
And just knowing that there's that depth of history there, that level of culture is around you. And then more recently, probably just around about 2 weeks ago, I took my first trip to Jamaica. I actually have family heritage in Jamaica because my father's parents are from Jamaica.
ah,
And so, yeah, and I'm mixed race. So for me, I'm going to share that story. And this relates to being the digital nomad. So I'm 39 years old now. So when I stepped onto the land of Jamaica, I just not long turned 39, which was the 1st of February. And for many years, my grandfather would tell me stories of where he came from in Jamaica. He would have a donkey where he collected wood. He would take wood to the timber yard in Jamaica and, you know, all the other crazy things a young man would get up to. And he would say, shh, don't tell your grandma about these stories, you know. So as a young boy, my mind was filled with all these amazing stories and I suppose thoughts of palm trees, sun, sea, the river, fishing, and just food and culture. And so recently, I was in Miami at a marketing conference, and then I had a few days spare. So me and my girlfriend, we traveled to Jamaica for 4 days to enjoy some time there because it's like, you know, 90 minutes away the flight. So we went there, and I remember the feeling of we got there. One of my aunties picked me up from the airport, which was cool. So I had met her before. She'd come to the UK, but she picked me up. And so from there, after she dropped me to the hotel, we went to the beach. But I remember just wanting to take my shoes off and just put my feet into the sand and just feel like I'm finally here. This place of story, imagination, and wonder that my grandfather had told me about growing up for so many years, for the culture that I experienced when I was around my grandparents, you know, at their home when I was growing up as a young boy, to finally be here and think, wow, I'm here, I have arrived. And so as a digital nomad, in many respects, the freedom was also the realization of a lifelong vision, let's say. And this vision was one day I would be in Jamaica. And finally it happened. And it happened because I had the freedom of time, have the freedom of money to make it happen, and the location again. So whilst I'm there, the way my business operates, I have a team that was taking care of things as I was away.
yeah,
So there is no funny ailment to the story, but what there was it was almost like a goal achieved.
yeah.
Yeah. And for me, there's nothing that can replace that feeling in your heart when you long for something and finally it's realized. And so that's what I want to share.
Wow. That sounds like, well, you said it's a vision come true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, well, the next question is something like that.
Hmm.
It's close to my heart because I'm in the business of helping people achieve their dreams in my own way.
Hmm.
So what's your advice for people to make their dreams come true?
Okay, so my advice is it's very simple. There's nothing special about this advice other than the fact that it requires you to be committed, not just to say I'm committed, but to be committed for the next 18 months. So if you're in this place where you're looking at growing your business or starting out in your business, the biggest thing is, as I said, plan what is the lifestyle that you wish to create. So what are the things you want to do? What is the financial goal that you hope to achieve in your business? What is the salary, the money you will take personally in your own bank account? Yeah. And once you have these as goals, then what you need to do is commit to what will you do every week for the next 18 months. Yeah. So the thing is, everybody wants to get to the finish line, but what you must understand, you've got to do the work. And I shared this story recently with one of my clients, and I also shared it at an event I was speaking at, is that if you think of the fastest man on the planet, he is known as Usain Bolt. Yeah. He went to 3 Olympics, which is over the course of 12 years, and won 8 or 9 gold medals because one was contentious. But anyway, so he won these medals and he still has the world record for the 100 and the 200 meters sprint. But what most people don't understand is that when he first went to his coach had to show him how to run. So he had to unlearn how to run for 2 years. Yeah, he was already an accomplished sprinter, but for 2 years, he had to now learn how to sprint properly to change. This was before any, Olympics had even been considered. But leading up to the Olympics, going through these changes, he was committed. Every day he would go to the track. So every day you commit to the work you've got to do. He would show up when he didn't feel well. So he would get beyond his own ego and emotions and he would do the work. Yeah. Because his vision and what he planned as his lifestyle was far greater than the 2 years that it took for him to now learn how to sprint properly. We all know him now as the legend, as Usain Bolt. But what I'm getting across here is that the biggest thing for you to do is have the goal and commit to those actions Monday to Sunday and use your 168 hours, because it's so easy not to commit. And in that is the answer, truly.
So the answer is commitment.
Correct.
Yes. Although what popped out from your story for me is the unlearning, the unlearning
Mm-hmm.
of something that would not get him there to his goal.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that might be even harder for some people, learning versus unlearning.
Absolutely. Can you imagine when Usain Bolt was already an accomplished sprinter as a young teenager, already winning like national competitions in Jamaica, and then he wants this coach who he knows will take him to the next level, and he says, "Now I need to teach you how to run." See, the thing is, you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes to get to the goal. That's why I said focus on what is the goal first, because if you're committed, you won't let habits or old routines kind of get in the way of you saying, hey, I already know what I need to do. I don't need to learn anything new. But it's the commitment that says, look, I'm open to whatever needs to happen to get there, because the goal is far bigger than me feeling a little uncomfortable or feeling like I have to change everything I've learned. Because there's so many people who become dramatic and say, oh my God, I've got to do this. I've got to change everything. My life is a drama. Oh, woe is me. But see, the thing is, when you're committed, it doesn't matter what needs to happen, because maybe your family are dependent on that. Maybe you have a goal that you're going to change how your family live. Like I have 2 children. There's a way that I want to continue to experience my life. I want them to experience. I want my girlfriend to experience. I want things to change. And because of that, my commitment is there. I wake up, every day I work, every day I think about the goal, every day I think about the business. Don't get me wrong, there's time when I have off, but my mind doesn't stop. Why? I'm so committed to making the goal happen. I can't switch it off. I'm obsessed about it. And the commitment is it's so highly required for you to make your goals happen. And that's why some people make it happen quickly. Some people, it takes a bit longer, because it all comes down to their focus and commitment.
Great. Yes. You experienced a vision come true already, the Jamaica
Mm-hmm.
story. But what is your vision for the future?
That's a great question. Growing up, I'd even go back to when I was a boy. I used to have this vision of I would be this astronaut and I would visit different planets. And I'm really sharing some, like, the kind of typical stuff you think about when you're a child, and, just traveling and so on. And the reality is it's very simple. I want to impact as many people so that I help them to help their families, friends, and their community. Because the way that I see business owners, they are the heartbeat of commerce. They are the heartbeat of what keeps, financial things moving. Because if you look at some of the biggest companies in the world, or even some of the people who've made the biggest change, I believe there's a story recently of Akon, who was that famous singer. And I believe he has been able to be involved in a project that has delivered electricity to something like, I don't know, 600 million Africans. Yeah. And the way that I see the future is that it's entrepreneurs who are the future, because they're the ones who are willing to risk. They're the ones who are committed. And they're the ones who, when somebody says to them, it can't be done, they're already working on the answer. Yeah, they're working on the solution. And so for me, the biggest thing that I see as the future is to encourage more people to show up, for more people to shine, for more people to succeed. Because the more that we understand that it is possible, so long as you commit, you don't have to be confined with, let's say, a route or a career that isn't right for you. You can go for it. Don't worry about what your parents say or the people around you. Just go for what's in your heart. And I see, because of that, it will have the impact that, for instance, I'm having now with my own son. I mean, he's 12, and I can speak to him at a level where I can say to him, Ruben, this is how you can look at life. Seek the advice of people who have already been there. Other people, just take it as opinion, but truly understand what it is that's in your heart and what you want to do, because that's the only thing that matters. And that's what I want to see the next generation take more of that on.
Great. Where can people find you online, Leon?
Okay, so people can find me online in all the usual places. I'm Leon Streete. I have a silent E on the end of my last name, so Streete with an E. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and you will find my website if you type that into Google as well.
All right. Maybe later we can put them down in the links below.
Absolutely, that would be great.
Yes. Now, so let's invite them to Freedom Summit Global.
Yeah, I would love. Look, I'm looking forward to meeting, everybody who attends Freedom Summit Global. It will be my first time coming across to the Far East, and so I'm super excited. I believe, people will take away lots of great things that I'm going to bring there, especially for the talks I'm doing. Because the biggest thing for me is not just to kind of give theory. I want to give you guys stuff that you can implement straight away. It's what I do when I speak in Europe and when I speak in America, and it's what I'm going to bring to the event, and I'm looking forward to being there.
Great. We look forward to meeting you and hear you talk as well.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we invite everyone to like Freedom Summit Global and Freedom Summit Asia on Facebook. Thank you, Leon. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
It's been a pleasure. You've been a gracious host, and I've enjoyed your questions.
Yeah.